Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this meeting of the Town and Community Committee on the 23rd of January. Item 1 on the agenda is apologies for absence. Have received apologies from Councillor Eglinton. Are there any more? Not that I'm aware of. Any more? No, just Councillor Eglinton, thank you. Item 2, declarations of interest. Seeing none, so we're going to move on to item 3, public participation.
I've seen none.
So thank you for coming, but nobody wants to speak. Item 4, minutes to approve the minutes of the Town and Community Committee meeting held on the 22nd of November 2023. I have one correction here. Just the item 65, the Thames Water, Councillor Candia was also supposed to be on the list to attend, and Councillor Hunt would also like to attend. Thank you. Bring that. Any other comments on the minutes?
Can we also
Yeah.
have attendance put on the progress reports?
Yes,
that is going to continue.
go on the progress report.
I would like to speak to it at some point as part of the progress report.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Yeah, we can do that. No worries. Anything else on minutes? Okay, all those in favour? Harry, thank you. Item 2 is to note the minutes of the meeting of the events subcommittee held on the 12th of December 2023. I did have one comment on this. Item 41 says that there'll be no need for a separate workshop meeting, which is fine. I just wanted to make sure that we make sure that the one-way closure of Pop Gardens is added to the TRO next year for Christmas. That hasn't been done already. Yeah, we've already made note of that. As noted, is it? Yeah. Yeah. We'll look mighty silly if we forget. Yeah. Okay, any other comments on the events meeting minutes? Councillor Candia.
Thank you. Just in terms of reporting back around the Santa Fun Run, sorry I missed it. Is it possible to get some numbers on this? Like, you know, how is it progressing year on year? Is there any plan to make it even more exciting?
We can ask him to report it to the next events meeting.
Good, thank you very much. Any other comments on the events minutes? All those in favour? Harry. Perfect. Item 5 is the communications manager update. Don't have her with us today, unfortunately, but we've received a report. A couple of things highlighted from this is the adventure golf, the amazing cleanup that was done on the floods by the Parks Department. Absolutely incredible. Couldn't believe it was ready so quickly. And also, as she notes on here, that we have over 50% of people actually opening the newsletter, which is incredibly high for something like that. So that's really
not really.
Sorry,
Not really.
you don't think?
No.
I'll make some comments.
Okay. I was quite impressed with that. Yeah, did anybody else have any comments? Councillor Hoskins.
There are several suggestions I'm making. First of all, the Visit Henley website is good. She's done a good job on that. One comment that's been made to me is the fact that there is advertising on it. And the question is, can we avoid the advertising? And if so, what may it cost? I think it may well be related to the new, whatever it's called.
I think the YouTube
yeah.
posted videos.
But actually that's featured on there. What is really interesting is that I think the website is good. I think the communication of it needs considering. So, for example, what is interesting is that there's nothing on the Henley Town Council website which shows the Visit Henley. And I think that should be on there. Equally, I think there needs to be communications around the town about the website. So suggestions, you might like to put a placard on the main bus stops. You may put a placard near the railway station. We may need to put placards on the web, on the sites coming into the town where they show that it's now Henley, and actually communicate it in that respect. I also think, I mean, if you like, there's the intention at some stage to put the information centre outside. First of all, I think the information centre should be logoed tourist and information centre. And secondly, I think you might like to put a placard on the information centre showing that the Visit Henley website. That's about the Visit Henley website. As I said, I think it's very good. I think it's about how we communicate it. We then went on to the third issue of the Henley Town Council newsletter. First of all, if you go onto the website, the Henley Town Council website, all you can do is put on a sign up page. And I think what we should be doing is putting the current version of the newsletter on the Henley Town Council website, but actually also having, if you want to sign up to it, then that would be worthwhile. And I think that is quite important, because if we want to communicate what we as the town council are doing, and actually particularly the town community are doing, we need to actually have it visible. So I think 50% turn up, sign up is great, but actually, can we do more? So those are the comments I've had, and I think that's probably enough.
Yeah, right. Thank you. Some really good points there. Just to clarify, the advertising, do you mean specifically within the embedded video? Because I did see that screenshot that got circulated.
Yeah,
So it's just within that video.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, okay, right, okay.
And I don't know whether it's feasible to take it out, or whether it's part
Yeah,
of
I
the.
don't know off the top of my head. I'm thinking probably it is, but I don't know that. I need to look into that. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, just on the kind of obviously this is early days. We've just launched the website, and I know that Daisy is hoping to has a plan to kind of more widely and continually publicise it. One thing I do know is that we're hoping and planning to put some large Visit Henley design URL, website address, kind of posters, banners, more likely is the right word, down on Red Lion Lawn, either for a temporary period or an extended temporary period, and on other sites where we have the right to, as a good starting point, where there's lots of eyes, etc. Yeah, there's certainly plans afoot to more widely publicise it now that it's up, and really this is the kind of the version to go with now, with the tweets.
So I'm sure we're not intentionally excluding it from the Henley Town Council website. Is that just something we need to do, or something we're having trouble with as the system?
No, I think because the website is only recently launched, that there's still more work to be done to publicise it more, as Paul said.
Yeah.
And as Councillor Haskins has pointed out, but that will be forthcoming.
I think having a copy of the newsletters on the Henley Town Council website is a really good idea as well. So that's something we can definitely do. Councillor Kandaya.
Thank you. Yeah, really interesting to see, and I must admit I have to press the right Henley, because I can see we're in direct competition with Henley and Arden. You go to visithenley.co.uk, got to remember it's .com. I think my question is around the kind of the what's on and the events in the calendar, like how do those options and activities get picked out of, for example, I know that there's local community groups like Mother Sister Daughter doing a community soup event this coming Saturday, or Greener Henley events, you know, that are coming up. So I suppose the question is it clear how local community groups could have access to this or be able to promote, if that could be indicated on the website?
Yeah.
But also, is there, how are the events being decided that are being advertised? Are there links with, yes,
I believe there is a plan for a member of the information centre to take charge of making sure that all events are uploaded from their knowledge being in the information centre. But it's a good question, but yeah, maybe there can be a way of other people posting their events or at least emailing.
yes. Yeah, and the Henley Standard has some really good listings as well, that could be cross-referenced. I suppose the other part B to my question is, how does this link in with existing websites like Experience Henley? Which also does a lot of, like, are there, I don't know if there are any conversations went on with Philip to say, how does this enhance all that Henley offers rather than going in different directions?
I think recall there was discussion about that, and it was felt that because that really is a private enterprise, that we really ought to have something that we can control and administer, but not the long term. So I think it was considered, and Philip works very closely with his council on numerous projects. But I think that was simply the decision that we should have our own thing. Councillor Hopkins.
It's just a comment based on what Councillor Kennedy said. And the real issue, I think, is whether these local and often voluntary groups are aware of the ability to publicise via the town council. And I think what we should be doing is not just putting placards around, but actually perhaps write into each of these bodies and saying, if you want to, you can publicise it this way.
Yeah. I don't see any reason why we can't add a link to the bottom of the calendar page and just say, if you want to add anything to this, please contact us here. I don't have a problem with
And
that.
there must be a Henley Society, their talks, and Literary Festival's got some things coming up. I mean, all of these, you can find in the Henley Standard quite well listed, but it would be lovely to have them in our link, really.
There is a lot of good suggestions here. Probably one of the best thing is to get in touch with Daisy directly, drop her an email with the ideas, and I'm sure she would be very receptive to them.
Yeah. Okay. It's been minuted, I assume.
Yeah, I'll mention it today.
Thank you. I haven't put any notes. Okay, did anybody else have any comments on the communications manager update? One more, Sarah.
What is Henley wallpaper? I mean, that intrigued me.
Yeah,
I was
it's like,
like,
that's me,
what's
to me
it?
as well. I'd like to see that, I have to say. Can we wallpaper?
Yet to be unveiled.
Physical wallpaper for a wall.
It is a wallpaper, it is for an actual physical wall in the information centre. It is photographs that have been submitted by members of the public, which have then been put together by Henley Scan, I believe, into then a wallpaper, which will then be a feature wall in the information centre.
It's nice. The first we've heard of that, isn't it? First I've heard of it.
I think it's been ticking along for a while.
Yes.
Oh, that's exciting.
And then there's also of work being done for on the opposite wall, so behind the information centre desk, of a mural, which I think has been discussed. It was probably quite some months ago with yourself and Sarah at the time.
Yeah.
So,
That's making me very nervous. It's your laptop. Thank you. Any further comments on the communications manager update? Thank you very much. So we'll move on to item 6, town centre manager update. Town centre manager joined us tonight. Very much. The thing that stood out to me was the pretty low vacancy rate of 7%. Not the lowest we've ever had, but I think given the national average at the moment, it's really, really good. Proves that the town is doing quite well. The new ATM, I know a lot of people are very concerned about banking and access to cash in Henley, so I'm really pleased to see that that's progressing as well. Moving in the right direction. Councillor Rice.
Can I just ask about the ATM? Is that part of the banking hub group, working group that we've got set up? And is that meeting and making any progress on other aspects of banking services that we've lost in the town in recent years?
No, this isn't part of a group. This is some work I've just been doing,
Right.
because it's something which we need kind of desperately. So it's aside from any other of that activity.
I agree. I walked past the ATM the weekend and there were about 6 or 7 people queuing.
Yeah,
So,
And then it runs out.
it runs out.
yeah, that's
Peak
right.
time.
Yeah, I took a picture of it,
Yeah.
of a long queue followed
Yeah.
by half an hour later when I walked past of it having no money.
Yeah.
Because there was an error message on the.
It's not
Can
good.
I ask if the banking hub group is meeting and whether it's making any progress?
We haven't met yet. This was established under the previous council. It contains members no longer on this council, so it probably needs to be set up again and start meeting. But at the moment, Paul has been progressing all these topics on his own in the background, and they've been speaking to Banking England, is it? Cash access.
Cash access.
Cash access UK,
In the
that's
post
it.
office.
So these conversations have been going on in the background, but we haven't yet had any kind of meeting of the banking working group.
Okay.
Councillor Hoskins.
Could the town centre manager explain what is the policy on the use of e-boards? It's stated, but I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah, it's as Sheridan said, it's part of the
On-street
on-street advertising it's called, so it's part of that policy. But the A board specifically is something which I wanted to remind retailers and hospitality about at this stage. In the beginning of the year has been something I've reminded them about already, various retailers meetings, but it basically states that businesses are allowed an A board,
Okay.
but it should be not blocking the public highway, the pathway basically, and it should be close to the property, to the premises.
Okay.
In recent months and over the last year or two, as the retail kind of landscape has been changing so much, I think people have been trying different measures and that the number of A-boards has increased. It appears, I don't have any facts statistically, but the majority of people are within the policy. But I wanted to remind those that maybe are using 2 A-boards or, you know, having additional marketing outside their premises, that this is the policy and we'd like to stick to it. And as a kind of first touch, gentle reminder that this is a policy that they need to adhere to. And if, you know, certain premises do persist, then there will be, you know, further conversation to be had.
What could you take it forward to in
Well-
terms of ensuring they can conform?
Well, I would like to first have
Yeah.
the conversation with them and see how that rests. And then there is the option to remove A-boards. But hopefully, and as I say, most people in this town are very adherent to the policy.
Yeah.
The 1 or 2 may need to be gently reminded.
Okay, thank you.
Have you had any complaints? Because this was a really hot issue a few years ago by the partially sighted and disabled, but I'm not aware of whether there's many complaints coming to the town here.
Yeah, it is something that is mentioned occasionally in public participation. Somebody will come along and mention it, maybe once every couple of years or something.
And I did actually a year ago walk the streets with the partially sighted residents who came in to highlight the issue, and it really stuck with me, and I really wanted to tackle it. And you know, it's
a fine balance, isn't it?
fine balance. You know, I understand the retail landscape's difficult. People need to do things, but obviously there's residents to think about as well. So all types of residents. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, Councillor Candiah.
Thank you. I think I just want to acknowledge the Living Advent. I know it's not a Henley Town Council thing, but it is something that really brings the community together, and it was amazing, again, just how the chap, can't remember his name, but you know who I mean.
Richard Rodway.
Broadway.
That he puts it on faithfully for a number of years and just amazing. So I always think of Henley Christmas, but I always think of that as being a key part of it. Sure, we also want to recognise and thank Richard Broadway for that too. It's a question about the lights. And I think I'd just like to have some feedback about the lights in general. So yes, I really like the stars, but the string lights seemed very, very bright. And I think we also had issues that they would not be turned off for a number of days when they were first installed. So I just wonder if you could help me understand what happened. And yes, what is the plan for the lights going forward?
Should we fill this one, or shall I?
Do you want to start?
Sure. So we weren't expecting them to be quite as bright as they were. So we are looking into the option of dimmers for future years, which is something which we think should be possible. With the previous lights, they weren't nearly as bright. So if they were on all night long as they had been on previous years, then you wouldn't notice it quite so much. As soon as we realised just how bright they were, then we did get in touch with the contractor to get timers fitted, and timers were fitted. I think within a week or so. And broadly speaking, that did work. So mixture of timers plus dimmers for future years should resolve that particular issue. There was another question that you had, I think.
Yeah, so part of that was in terms of, I mean, it's fascinating to know that you can get highly bright lights and not so bright lights. So it's just intriguing to know how, you know, when you purchase them, was there a lumen rating or something? Like, did you specifically say we want a maximum brightness of such and such, or was it just give us the light?
We were very specific this year
Okay.
in comparison with previous years. I think the question here is not knowing what we don't know. I don't think we ever expected brightness to be an issue. So we did specify that it should be warm white, but the actual brightness is never anything which has ever been raised as an issue before. So it's not something that we were particularly looking out for in the specification.
I think also when you've installed brand new wiring and brand new bulbs, they're going to perform at the best of their abilities, and that's what it was, a kind of combination of those perfect wiring plus perfect brand new bulbs that at the wattage that they were, and that's gonna, they're just going to be bright, and then over the years they will deteriorate. People will say they're not as bright as they used to be, are they? Should we get some new ones? So
what's the lifespan of the lights that we have, and are they being used at other times of the year, or is there a lighting plan? Because I always thought they were just here for Christmas.
well, they stay up, don't they?
They stay up because it would be far too expensive to take them down and put them up all the time. So they stay up. There isn't a plan to use them elsewhere during the year. They could, in theory, but I don't think there's anything that's been identified as being useful. The previous ones, I think, were installed back in 2017, and so did last for 6 years, on and off. Having said that, the ones that have been installed, they have a better IP rating, so they should last longer and have fewer issues, especially when we sort out the electrical infrastructure as well.
Thank you. And just sorry, I've heard a couple of reports that when the Christmas trees were taken down, there were a couple of incidents where a Christmas tree actually fell off. I don't know if that came back to you.
Yeah, I was aware of one or two.
What the outcome, or I don't know if you know what happened, because it seemed to happen not when we had the really high winds, but it was.
Yeah, no, they were around the time when the high winds were on, and it happened to be in a particular spot where the wind was kind of whistling down the street, and they didn't happen at the same time.
No.
But yeah, so very much aware of that, and the contractor came out and dealt with the aftermath of that, on 2 occasions.
Mhm.
So,
Was it just the tree that fell off or the bracket as well?
It was the bracket, so it was the actual fixing.
Mm.
The irony here was last year, people complained about the quality of the trees. And so we specified these should be premium trees and 4-foot trees. The contractor was good to his word and basically tried to get as premium a tree as possible. Some of them were actually closer to 5 foot than 4 foot.
Right.
And the
Wow.
trunk was much more significant than he was expecting.
Yeah.
Basically, so it's actually because they were such a high quality that actually they were putting more load than was expected. For future years, he's actually sourcing tree. I can't remember the type of tree, but it's
Fraser, wasn't it?
a Fraser tree, which apparently has a much more slender trunk, which is the majority of the way.
And sorry, just because I was walking up and down the street and noticed various things. So with the trees and the lights that were around them, the Penny Town Council, do you know what happens with the lights that surrounded the tree? Did we say specifically, you know, please make sure that these are reused, recycled? What was that part of the contract in terms of, you know, taking care of the resources that
The
we have?
contractor, when they take down the trees, then they reuse the lights. The contractor would want to reuse those lights as much as possible. And they were new lights purchased for this year, because again, we stated we wanted a certain number of lights, which they did deliver. So yes, they take down the trees. The trees are then shredded. The lights are reused the following year.
By Penny Town Council?
So
Or
we
generally?
buy the contractor, so
Okay.
we don't purchase those lights. We just
Okay.
pay per tree, and it's up to them to make
Okay.
sure that the lights are understanding.
Just an observation, yes, when the contractor was removing the trees with the lights, and the van was parked maybe 10-20 meters away, literally dragged the tree with the lights on it. And I was thinking, I don't know if those lights are now going to be reusable by the way that they're being dragged along
Okay,
the floor.
that's good.
So just, you know, we want to be a council that encourages sustainability rather than.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any comments? I see none, so we'll move on to agenda item 7, which is finances. No, I might be confusing myself here, but I think it's the right days.
Just bear with me a second.
Counts to year ended 2024.
So November 26th.
Check number 3.
Mm.
It's an
Ah.
extract from the accounts, right?
Yes, although the heading for columns 3 and 4, that should say budget 23-24 and actual 22-23. So yes, you're right, those headings.
These headings are wrong.
So the headings for columns 3 and 4. For those two,
So budget should be 23-24.
and actual is 22-23.
Right, that does make more sense.
Mm.
I don't think these are touches, as you know. Did anybody have anything else to raise with the accounts?
So you want the budget?
Yes.
Yeah.
All's good.
Just about spot on, yes.
Councillor Hoskins.
Believe that the town clerk has sent me an Excel spreadsheet. I will look at it. We'll come back with any questions I have, okay?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. No, we voted on that, shouldn't we?
No, we don't.
Consider them.
Just the.
Okay, in which case we'll move on to item 8, which is the car meets at Tesco. This is a really extensive report, actually, really detailing exactly what's been going on and when, and how we've engaged with both Tesco and the police. To kind of speed the process as best we can. I think that should be good. And the police have admitted that they've just had other priorities and that's why they've not attended. They've been called, I think, every single time. Yeah, okay, so, councillor Hoskins.
I agree with you entirely. I think this is a very extensive report and it's great that we're doing it. I think it highlights the fact that we need to manage the press in times when there are issues that are concerning the community. I think this does it, but perhaps we need to think in future about doing it faster. Because there has been a lot of press which has been critical of all these issues, including of the town council. And I think this reflects what the town council is doing and actually highlights the fact that it's going in the right direction.
Yeah. I mean, we're quite good, aren't we, at doing a lot of work in the background and not blowing our own trumpet
Yeah.
publicly, that we are actually
Yeah.
working on this. Any other comments on the car cruising report?
So I think this is a good reflection of what's happened, what has happened in the past, that as things are happening, then the way you communicate is slightly different. This is a summary of what has happened as a whole.
Yeah.
And as it's coming, as it's actually occurring, then there's different way of communication, which I think has been pretty effective.
Yeah. Still there in black and white. Yeah. Councillor Lyson.
As has been observed in the report, we don't have a statutory duty in respect of this problem, but residents are clearly being inconvenienced. But worse than that, these are clearly dangerous criminal activities that are going on. And my concern is that the police are neither attending, nor if they have attended, have they taken any action to either deter or to arrest or prosecute these people who are clearly causing at best a nuisance and at worst a risk to public safety. And I am not satisfied with the information provided on what the police regard as a higher priority than this. And I'd like to contact the police and ask them to come and explain what it is that they can do and that they will do in future when reports of these take place. I realise that police have resourcing and prioritisation issues, and it may well be that their reasons for not attending are real and genuine. However, for that to have happened every time seems unfortunate to me, and I think we are due a better explanation than we've been provided with here. More worryingly, there seems to be a suggestion that there's a difficulty in actually the police carrying out any enforcement against these activities. I fail to see how the existing laws can't be applied in a way that enables them to take action, either to prevent or to interrupt and arrest those carrying out what appears to me, on the face of it, to be offences. They seem to be able to arrest people for shouting out "not my king" at a public event, and yet they seem to be suggesting that they don't have sufficient rights here. I find that hard to believe, and I think we're due a better explanation. Now, as a agenda item that's coming up, we're going to be talking about funding of the PCSO, and the police often attend these meetings, and it's good that they do, and we exchange useful information both at these meetings but also behind the scenes. And the relationship between this town council and the police is a very good one. But I think we are due an explanation. I would like us to contact the police as a matter of urgency and ask them to brief us on what it is they see as the situation here, what actions they can take, what options are available, and what they will do in future.
Thank you very much. Is that a proposal?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd like to second that proposal.
Seconding that proposal. Okay, would you like to speak to it?
Yes, I completely agree with Councillor Riceman's comments there. This is clearly a matter that residents care deeply about, and it affects almost the entire town. I live over a mile away from the site on Tesco, so I can hear it from my flat, as can neighbours and those living nearby. I can only imagine how disturbing it must be to them, particularly those elderly. There's a care home just next door. this should not be allowed to continue, and the police seem to have failed in their duties here, so I would definitely like to hear an explanation.
Thank you. Anybody else want to comment on that? Okay, move to the vote then. All those in favour of contacting the police? It's carried. Thank you very much. Unanimous vote. Thank you. Moving on to item 9, which is the discussion of the PCSO. Have your time. So to consider renewing the PCSO contract for 2024-25 contract funds circa £18,000, which equates to 50% of the annual standard rate of one PCSO. So we have always contributed, well, as long as I can remember, we've contributed to half of PCSO. The difficulty has been that we don't have any control over where that PCO is, whether or not they're even in Henley, and we also don't get reports on this data either. So it's always been an issue, do we get our money's worth for the PCSO? So we consider this every year. And here we are again. Anybody like to comment? Councillor Hoskins and Reisman.
The issue is precisely what you've just said. I mean, how many days per week will this cover? Where will it cover? And I hadn't realised you don't get any feedback from the PCSO about their activities. And I think this is a blank contract, which we pay money out for, but we don't know what is going to be achieved or where it's going to be achieved.
I think that's a very good summary. Councillor Reisman.
Yeah, I'd just like to reiterate the fact that the police do an excellent job, both investigating crime, reducing crime, but also working with victims to reassure them. And the town council has always supported the police and worked with the police. I mean, as I said just a few minutes ago, we have a very good relationship, and we support the way that they carry out their challenging and often dangerous work. And the success of the police in Henley is, one way of measuring it is that looking at the relatively low levels of crime in Henley. That doesn't mean that there aren't victims, and I certainly not try to diminish the hurt caused by victims of even the relatively low levels of crime that we have in Henley. As you said, Chair, we've been providing a PCSO or a half a CSO for as long as I've been on this council as well, since 2003. And we've done that in order to try and make sure that that Henley is policed to the extent that we think it should be. I would like to make sure that we take care to ensure that the money that we spend on funding this PCSO does represent value for money. And we need to ask ourselves the question: what do we get in return as a tangible benefit to Henley residents? We understand that police priorities don't guarantee the presence of this of any officer or this additional officer that we fund at any specific time. And in the past, we've tried to get information regarding the policing hours spent in Henley, and both of this officer, but also the officers generally. And we've also tried to influence where officers are deployed. And unfortunately, the information that we've been provided, I don't think gives the reassurance that we need in order to be sure that the money is being well spent. The issue of the racing at Tesco is something that is just one high-profile event. But I would like to make sure that the low-level policing is also something that the Force Thames Valley Police make available to us. So I'm keen to understand what activities, for example, the Thames Valley Police use as a high priority. For example, on the, as I said, on the Tesco car park, and so I'd like to propose that we defer funding of this PCSO pending a meeting with the Thames Valley Police, so they can explain what we get for our money, what reports they will provide on the additional policing that we get as a result of the money, the 18,000 that we're proposing to spend, so we can satisfy ourselves that funding the PCSO is the right thing to do with taxpayers' money. So I so move. And there are specific questions that they read out, which is, what ability do we have to influence the additional presence in Henley of this additional PCSO? And what do Thames Valley Police report in the way of activities in Henley carried out by PCSOs?
Okay, so councillor Hunt has seconded that already. Would anybody like to comment? Councillor Hunt.
Thank you, councillor Lambert, and I thank councillor Riceman for his proposal and his absolutely accurate statements about the good work of the police in our local area. And I support his proposal as I share his concerns regarding the value for money. This is a very large sum of taxpayers' money, given that councillor Ross said this has been on since 2003. In today's money, that's £360,000 worth. And we have a duty to make sure we're spending money responsibly. I cannot honestly say that we can demonstrate the value for money, given we lack the data. And having spoken to the town clerk just ahead of the meeting, we lack the reports that the Schedule 1 of the agreement we have with Thames Valley Police mandates them to supply on the KPIs and the levels of reduction in crime. So also, I would like to ask councillor Rice to add that to his list of questions, if they could provide the reports that they are obliged to already provide.
Yes, I'm very happy that that's added into the proposal.
But without this data, I don't feel that we can demonstrate its value for most taxpayers, and thus we should not proceed with funding this resource at this time. And it's a shame that Thames Valley Police did not attend this meeting tonight to answer these questions. But before we make this decision, because it was an important decision for the town, they should be given a chance to answer any questions. Thus, I second the motion.
Okay, anyone want to comment on that? Okay, all those in favour? Thank you very much, unanimous again. There was one question about section 23 audits in the contracts that they provided. Councillor Riceman drew my attention to this. Reading through it, it sounds mostly irrelevant to the type of contract that this is. And I know that we want to ask them to maybe remove it, because this doesn't seem to apply to anything. It sort of gives the police the power to come in and search all our software, hardware, filing, whatever, to make sure we're providing an adequate service to them. But obviously, this contract is about them providing a service to us. So maybe it's been copied and pasted from elsewhere. I don't know, but it just seemed irrelevant when I read it.
It is a bizarre and, in my opinion, unnecessary and potentially worrying clause 23. So yes, I would certainly like to see it removed, unless the Thames Valley Police can provide an explanation of why it's there and why they think it helps the arrangement.
Is that a proposal?
So I propose that I propose that we query section 33 in particular.
I'll second that as well. Yeah. Okay, well, it's a potential removal of section 23, which is irrelevant. All those in favour? Thank you very much. And
Is that 23 or 33?
23 audits in the PCSO
What is
contract.
that, what I said from the question?
Thank you. And lastly, item 10, progress. So repointing of the York Stone, obviously, Thames Water have been working on Marketplace again. It seems to be quite good at putting the stones back. I give them that. That's the second time they've done a really good job. I don't think I'd be able to.
Practice makes perfect.
Yes, I suppose that's it. This makes better. Henley Bridge repairs. Now, I understand that they, this hasn't been updated, but I believe OCC have now applied for planning permission to make these fixes to the bridge. Is that correct?
I think so.
Yeah, I'm sure. I heard Councillor Gavashak say that. So maybe we can update that on progress. Park Service to collect the broken bollard from Councillor Eggleton. I've asked before if this has actually happened yet. He doesn't live that far away, and surely we can get this bollard back in. Well,
I've spoken to the park manager, he's going to get on.
perfect. Okay, so he wants to get how to get that off there. Repair Cafe bins. We've ordered 10. We're going to review the design of the remaining bins before we actually
Yeah, we're looking at options for
The double and triple.
the double and triple ones to see if they could be more in keeping with a single heritage building design. If that's
What's the design of the 10 single heritage bins? I'm not sure I saw it.
it's virtually the same as
Is
the,
it?
yeah, they're
Okay.
virtually identical to the ones we have outside,
Oh,
but just
okay, that's
larger.
fine. Okay, brilliant.
There's no
These are these 90 litre ones.
90.
Perfect, okay, great. But we'll see the designs of the doubles and triples
Yeah.
before we order them.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah,
And
brilliant.
I believe one quote has been received.
yeah.
As is,
Um,
okay.
Large.
Is it?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, indeed.
Ah,
This would be basically if we want our own kind of bespoke design.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, say when.
Keep on going.
Okay, obviously that will come back to this committee, or I believe it was going to be discussed at least with chair and vice chair.
It was chair and vice chair.
Yes, okay. That's a kind of,
Yeah, I just wondered if we could nip back to the repair cafe.
of course.
Yes, it'd be really lovely to hear that there's been some progress on this.
There has been no progress on this due to Christmas so far, but it's on my plan
Yeah,
to
did you
get
say
into this year.
Plan, how will this be progressed? in the
We really need someone who's going to drive this thing forward. We need someone who's passionate about it, whether that's a councillor, whether that's a resident. We need someone who's going to stand up and say, I'm the person to make this repair cafe. And when that person stands forward, it may be in this room, it may be in another room somewhere, maybe someone else we don't know yet. If someone can come forward who is passionate about doing a repair cafe, I'm sure the logistics of making it happen on a weekly basis will fall into place. We just don't have that person at the moment.
May I suggest then that since we've got the January edition of the Henley Town Council newsletter, that such an advert or encouragement is actually put in there, so that given that no progress has been
That's a really
over
good idea.
this,
Yeah, it's a good idea.
that please consider
Especially with our high. open rate.
getting
Yeah,
50% of
50%,
Someone will volunteer.
that's good.
Yeah,
I did
and to
notice,
put it on the Henley,
yeah,
visit Henley website, I don't know, but I'd encourage you to please try and find someone to move this forward.
Councillor Dodds.
Could I suggest, Greener Henley sends around its newsletters, and that you put a request in that. Certainly, when I was involved in the repair, sort of involved in it before COVID, it was very much championed by Transition Henley, which became Greener Henley, very much your group. So it might be there's someone within your group who could do this practical gift to the town of running a repair shop. Maybe you would like to put in a newsletter and see what
We
they
will
say.
consider it, but to be honest, I'd rather that this has been on this town community agenda.
It's the one person we're looking for, more likely to come from your group.
No,
Yeah.
I disagree, sorry, I think that the repair cafe is something that it would benefit from being advertised in the Henley Town Council newsletter.
It's not mutually exclusive.
Yeah, exactly. I'd say that, but
Yeah.
Paul is exactly right, that it needs one, possibly two or three people
Yeah.
who are passionate and energetic and creative and will make it work. And where it comes from is really doesn't matter. But the wider we spread the net, the more likely we are to find someone. And for anyone who thinks that this is a bit of a sort of an unrealistic wish, the Wallingford one is very successful. So there is a successful model, and yeah, they do work, they do succeed, but it does require a few enthusiasts.
We did reach out to the Wallingford branch of the repair cafe and asked them the question if there was anyone from this side who would like to do it, but no one stepped forward. So it's just an ongoing search.
We should keep at it, really.
Yes, I know there was a champion for it before, and she called a meeting. And I was quite sceptical, like you were, as to whether who would turn up. And there were about 15, 20 people, and they could mend furniture, they could weave, they could sew, it was really quite remarkable. And then the whole thing closed down because of COVID. So the people are out there. It just needs a champion to have enthusiasm. Yes.
Yeah, it's probably also worth putting a post out on the Henley Volunteer Network that
Yes.
Councillor Michelle Thomas set up while she was mayor. Those are people that have joined that group usually specifically because they want to volunteer or they're already volunteering.
WI,
Uh,
these wonderful people who do the crocheting and
Yeah.
knitting.
So there are places where we can cast the net a bit wider and see if we can get some volunteers. All right, thank you. Any, Councillor Hoskins?
Yes, I had from councillor, or Stefan, it's easy to describe me as that. In the discussion I had, we were talking about actions for the group.
Yeah.
And he then sent me the strategy papers, which were agreed by HRG, whomever, and the town clerk, which includes this list of actions in the town and community. May I suggest and perhaps request that we could have an update on all of these actions for the next meeting? And even if they're just no action undertaken, that would certainly include me, because I've just realised at the bottom I've got create tourism strategy brackets Tony.
Yeah, town clerk.
So the strategic plan is currently in draft form. And it's a draft should be, we're planning to bring something to I think it's the March council meeting at the latest, but it will be circulated around to councillors way before then for your thoughts on it, so that we can have hopefully a final strategy document which will be ready for March for the council to adopt. And then once that is adopted, then that will form part of the action plan for the various members of senior management, and will be reported back.
Can I suggest as well, and I will do it for you for the town community, is that we split it by the various areas of activity, rather than just have a list.
It is indeed.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further comments on progress? Councillor Weissman?
Can I just briefly talk about towns?
Yes, of
Towns,
course.
but
Maybe that should go on progress.
it's supposed to be on progress, yes, so
Yeah,
if we could, that's it,
Thank you.
for future reference. And well, the beds did close on December the 31st. We haven't managed to keep them open. We didn't defer the closure, and no consultation has been secured yet. But the struggle continues. We are not satisfied that there are enough beds in Oxfordshire. There's no evidence that the plan is meeting the need, and that the existing users or the previous users of those beds last year are going to have their needs met. And we are equally concerned at the patchy and uneven distribution of the remaining 60-odd beds across Oxfordshire, leaving none in South Oxfordshire, with a population of 140,000 people. So we will continue to press and make those points. We are pursuing and have received freedom of information request results. We are examining and digesting those. We will continue to make them. There's more information that we will seek out. We will continue to pressurise the various NHS bodies. Janet Waters, Stefan Gavishak and Robert Aiken attended the HOSC meeting last week and asked a very good series of questions regarding the beds, patient need, and the correct procedure for changing the way bedded services works. The committee almost completely ignored their questions and debated something else entirely. It was a very disappointing meeting. I'm afraid the county council are not doing what they should be doing in ensuring that the healthcare is provided in a way that meets need, and scrutinising it properly, which is what the job of that committee is. We'll continue to do that, and there are a number of things are developing behind the scenes, and we hope that the pressure will continue and the publicity will continue over the next few weeks. We think we've won the argument, but we haven't changed any of the decision makers' minds yet.
Thank you. Anybody would like to comment on that or anything else?
I'd just like to thank you for your efforts.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah,
And the rest of the TSG.
Yes. yeah.
Well, Stefan in particular, but also Janet Waters, Robert Aitken, Peter
All of
Ashby. There are others, and we should perhaps look at this point to call another meeting of the TSG to continue to campaign. We're not going to go away. We're going to continue to be a nuisance. They may think that we will quietly pack up and go, but we didn't do that in the past, and we're not going to do that now.
Some good examples out there.
Yeah.
Well, if we had done that in the past, we wouldn't have a Towers.
Well,
Yeah,
indeed.
exactly.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, or a care home, or the assisted living places, or or all the other things we've got.
Carry on being a nuisance.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
It's
Right. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.